Welcome back, everyone. This is Vidette Mayer coming to you with the fifth and final installment of this series on the Crucible of 2020. I've been going through this series every day or two in order to help offer a new perspective of 2020. We talked about the crucible and how, as we watch our world, our physical world, start to go into chaos, how these three different collectives are starting to emerge. And really, what is the pivotal role for each of those collectives? And then on the second video, we talked about the emotional intelligence and how that shows up in our world right now. The emotional intelligence of fear and arguing for the right position and whose ideas are better and whose ideas are going to take the world into a new space, when being in that consciousness and being in that emotional intelligence level is really not going to be the answer. And how we have the second collective that is ready to rise up and start to be voices and might still have some doubt or might just think that they are crazy and how are they going to change all of the chaos that they see. And then we have this third collective, the third collective that's really looking on all of it and saying, we know how to change this. It's through consciousness. It's not through a system. It's not through, figuring it all out. It simply is being a consciousness so that new systems can evolve. And then we talked about the reality of 2020 and how if you talk to 100 different people, you're going to have 100 different perceptions of reality, because it's all being filtered through all of the inner stuff that we have in ourselves. So my reality is going to be very different from someone who is stuck in the fear of what is happening. And their reality is going to be different from the other person that they may be arguing with on their perception of reality. So you can see how there's this tumultuous group over here that is just tossing and turning themselves in and around in all the chaos of the world. And then we are talking about the influences of 2020 and who are you listening to? Are you in that collective of fear? And there's nothing wrong with being there. I'm here to help as a solution to that. And yet I bring examples to the table that might sting a little bit, simply to show and give examples of how this energy and this consciousness is being created. So even if you are in fear, but you just have an inner knowing that there is something up with all of this, how can this all be happening at the same time? You are right. And by elevating your consciousness, you will start to see a bigger and bigger perspective. For those of you in that second collective, who are you hanging out with? Are you now feeling that call to step into a greater expression of you and your voice and be an activist of change in some way in the world? And yet you might be gaining advice or talking to those who are in the fear collective at a lower level of consciousness where they can't see what you see yet. So if you're asking them for advice, it's going to diminish and dull that call within. You have got to start to stretch out and find the people that are like you. They may be strangers, and yet they're not going to be strangers for long. And then you can also call up to those in a higher level of consciousness and say, give me a different way to look at this. They will pull that wild idea out of you and help you to uncover and see it, because they have a higher perspective of you and your life and your role on this planet. That is what this entire series has been about. For you to identify, where am I right now? Where do I want to be? And then, Wild One, you have a choice. This is all about choice. What's happening in our physical world is a reflection, an outward reflection of the consciousness that created it. Our systems and our modern day world was created from a consciousness of how do we control, how do we instill fear so people will listen to us. And now there's more and more people that are starting to come online. Souls are coming online and saying, you know what, I have a purpose here, and it's not doing the things that I should be doing and not doing the things that I was told to do. I am now online and I am willing. And all of those souls that are now waking up for whatever purposes, maybe they're seeing the chaos or maybe it's just their time, they are the ones now that have the consciousness to start to create a world where it is a world based in creative love for all of humanity. How do we create systems that help save our planet and start to repair her, really? How do we create these ideas that are deep within us, and yet we've never had the feeling of power or the feeling of freedom to be able to create it? We are coming online and saying, you know what, I do have a voice, and no matter what anyone has ever told me before in my life, I'm going to use that voice because I am here, and I will wait until my friends and my family and the people who I have allowed to influence me and diminish me, I'm going to wait for them to come online, and then I'm going to help them. But right now, Wild One, you have the choice. Do you choose to operate in that lower consciousness still and be tossed and turned around in the chaos? Or do you choose a different way, a way that less people are taking, but those are the ones that are going to be creating this earth? They already are. And if that is you and you say, yes, I want to be part of that, but I have no idea where to start, I want to help you with that. I have a program that's called Rewild. It's so inexpensive, and yet it is that way to give you the framework to start to rise up in your consciousness. It breaks down consciousness and all the pieces that fit into it so that you are understanding, what do I have to turn my awareness to? What do I have to pull back my perspective on in order to see how I have been living in this lower consciousness and how I step into the new consciousness of this new world that is evolving while everybody else is arguing it out. They will have their time to join in when they are aware of it and when they choose it. But because you are here right now watching this video, it is your time to choose. Choose to raise your consciousness. It will be much more pleasant. You will be so much freer as a soul and as a person and as an individualized expression of you in this physical form. And you, Wild One, are going to be part of this change. And if you don't know how that's going to be, that is okay. As you raise your consciousness, as you work through this framework that I'm introducing you to in Rewild, you are then awakening those parts of you that have been dormant. And when they come online, they are active and they start changing your life day by day by day. I hope you join me on this program or on this journey. It's the first step, and from there, Wild One, your life and your role and your being a part of this change in the world is at the forefront of who you are and how you live your life. It's a beautiful way to live. Thank you for joining me on this journey. It's been amazing. All you need to do to take the next step is just click the link or the button on this page wherever you're watching it. Thank you so much for being here. Mwah.